Greetings, Ken O'Keefe back in Gaza. You know, for the last 14, 15 months I've been dealing with the results of the hijacking of the Trade Not Aid mission. Now I'll provide a link to a video on Vimeo which gets into greater detail about this, but the short version of the story is that I made a massive mistake by trusting some horrible people, in particular Catherine Miles, but she was partnered with Saib Shaath and some others that effectively infiltrated the Trade Not Aid mission and stole money, donated goods, and vehicles. 2 vehicles, including an 18-ton truck that had been filled with donated goods for the Trade Not Aid mission. Now, the Trade Not Aid mission is effectively the brand name for a partnership between the 2 companies, non-profit companies, social enterprises that I am the director of. One, Aloha Palestine CIC, Community Interest Company, and the other one, the Samouni Project. Now, the Samouni Project was formed on the back of my relationship with the Samouni family here in Gaza. I formulated the plan for the Samouni Project with the Samouni family. In fact, the Samouni family put together a board that was comprised of all family members, and those family members are the ones that gave me the direction to move forward with the formation of the Samouni Project and the carrying out of the objectives. Now, the 2 main objectives of the Samouni Project were, 1, to get the kids the education that they need, because after Operation Cast Lead and the slaughter of the Samouni family by the Israelis, the children, obviously, were just a little bit traumatized, to say the least. This has adversely affected their school, and in this sense, they are just like the rest of the kids of Gaza. It's not just the Samouni family, but the Samouni family has been so incredibly violated and traumatized that these children are suffering. And one of the things that they're suffering from is a lack of ability to concentrate on school, and they need real special attention, many of them, to even think about concentrating on school again. Well, here we are nearly 4 years later, and they really don't have that yet. So this was the goal that was set a year and a half ago when I was here with the Samouni family. The other objective of the Samouni Project is in line with Aloha Palestine and my goals as a whole, which is fuck aid. Aid is not the answer. Aid, okay, in the extreme circumstances where people are literally going to starve to death, yes, you have to do it. But generally, aid is for the aftermath of a natural disaster. When you have a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake or something like that, then you need to send aid, because the people clearly in that emergency situation won't have everything they need to survive. But this is not an emergency situation, a natural disaster. This blockade of Gaza is now 5 years plus. It's human created. It's carried out by both the Israelis and definitely under Mubarak. It was the Egyptian side, and more importantly for us in the West, it's carried out with the complicity and the cooperation of our corrupt Western governments, who are taking all our money and giving them to the banksters and all this sort of stuff. So without our Western governments, this blockade of Gaza, which is 5 years plus, couldn't continue. And my goal with the Samouni family is to get beyond the blockade, to be able to export products that they can produce, because they are farmers, be able to have them produce their goods, vegetables, chilies, tomatoes, things like this, dehydrate them. I wanted to bring them a dehydrator and let them use that dehydrator to dehydrate their vegetables and fruits, and then we in turn would work to get them out. The plan of this was really that we would guarantee that those things that they produced, we would market abroad, people would pay for them, we would pay the Samouni family with those funds, and then it would be our task to export them out. So any of the purchasers of the products would have to understand that if we can't deliver the product, it's because the blockade is still in place. So that was the plan with the Samouni family. That's complemented by Aloha Palestine, which I formed with Lauren Booth in 2008. In late 2008, and the whole objective of Aloha Palestine way back in 2008 was trade, not aid, to establish a trade route in and out of Gaza so that the people could import and export and basically be able to develop their economy and get back on their own 2 feet and live a life of dignity. Even just recently here in Gaza, there is an organization set up on the principle of dignity by the youth here, and the way that dignity can be, the only way that dignity can be achieved is by the ability to do trade. Now, trade doesn't sound as sexy and as altruistic as aid and charity, but it's more important than aid and charity, and this is where we as people really need to think about our critical thinking skills. Do we have them, or are we continuously being manipulated into one stupid dead end or another? Aid is not the answer, and I'm not the only one saying that. It's been said by the Palestinians for a long time. Go watch a video called Donor Opium on YouTube. Excellent video. It'll tell you a lot about how aid is actually insidious and destructive towards the Palestinians, who are now, per capita, the biggest receivers of aid in the world.
احنا معتمدين مش بشكل سنوي على المانحين، احنا معتمدين بشكل يومي، حولونا لمعتمدين بشكل مطلق على أموال المساعدات الخارجية.
هذا الدعم مش موجه إنه ينهي الاحتلال.
So that was Samouni Project and Aloha Palestine. Now, I fucked up. I trusted the wrong people. They got on the inside. In that position of trust, they breached the trust, they stole vehicles, they stole donated goods, they stole money. Now, from the beginning, if this had been dealt with properly by the UK police, this could have been sorted. On August 23rd, I submitted a report to the UK police establishing who raised the money for those vehicles, what the purchase of those vehicles was for, which I purchased them, the transfer of funds for those vehicles while I was here in Gaza last year to trusted people on the European side back in the UK. The funds were transferred, authorized by me, the purchase of the vehicles authorized by me, the raising of the money by me, and those vehicles were registered in the name of the people who I trusted on that end. They were never the legal owners of the vehicles, they were never the legal owners of the donated goods, and they certainly were never the legal owners of the donated monies, which I authorized to be put into Catherine Miles' account because I trusted her. This is my fuck up, and I apologize to everyone for my screw up. As the leader of the mission, I cannot do anything but take responsibility for my fuck up, and I fucked up. Now, what can I do to recuperate that and correct it? What did I do? I went to the UK police. I handed them all the evidence to show the ownership of the vehicles. What did the UK police do? Well, they did what the UK government does and what all the Western governments are doing. They acted like the corrupt puppet bastards that they are. They didn't arrest the criminals, who I provably had shown had stolen vehicles, donated goods, and monies. No, they arrested me. They investigated me for 5 months and then said, oh, no further action. Yeah, no shit, no further action. Keep in mind, these people had 9 hard drives of mine. They had every hard drive I had. They had 2 computers, the only computers I had. They had paperwork. They went through my home. They took everything they wanted. They went through my wife's underwear drawer. They went through everything in my house. Everything that might have established any kind of criminal activity on my behalf, they had access to it, and they had it for 5 fucking months. I had to deal with that crap. I didn't have any representation for a while, and finally I did get a defense attorney. Great man. Thank you so much, my brother, Simon Natis. And ultimately, the police dropped their farcical bullshit investigation. And then they said, oh, the vehicles, it's a civil matter. I then had to file a civil case to recover the stolen vehicles, which is the 18-ton truck and the minibus converted into a mobile office. Now, that is now still in process. And the court system, another story, but nonetheless, it looks like I should be recovering in the court system because, quite frankly, there is no evidence on the side of the criminals to defend what they've done. Now, I provided that initial report. That was about 108 pages, that initial report. I then supplied, a year later, I supplied another 106-page report on the stealing of the vehicles, the stealing of the monies, the stealing of the donated goods. I handed that over to the police. Who do you turn it over to? I handed it over to the UK police. That was 3 months ago. Haven't heard back from them. And I'm talking about bank transfers, witness statements, emails, screenshots, all of it establishing that monies were taken by Catherine Miles, that monies were transferred into her account, and that those monies are unaccounted for, that they've been stolen based on a principle of some collective and some bullshit group that somehow claims to have taken over the Trade Not Aid mission, which they clearly did not. The UK police have dishonored themselves big time. Fuck the UK police that are at the top levels who are corrupt. I don't fear you. I don't give a shit what you do. I know who you are, and plenty of people know who you are. Just like the UK government. I don't care what you think you're gonna do to me. So, anyway, I've done everything I could to effect legal remedy, but we don't live in a lawful society. We don't live with law. Law is violated. Tony Blair's and George Bush's, what happens to them? They kill people, what, 1 million, 2 million people in Iraq? What happens to them? Nothing. There is no law. So the law did not help me. I was foolish to think that they would have, but nonetheless, I have supplied all the evidence to the so-called legal authorities in the UK. They've done nothing. Now, in September, just last month, I also compiled a 336 report. This was the conclusive report of everything that happened with the Trade Not Aid mission, going back to the formation of Aloha Palestine all the way through to the present day. This is a conclusive, detailed report with every single piece of evidence to establish that those that hijacked the Trade Not Aid mission are in fact nothing more than common criminals and thieves. I have established with the evidence that clearly Catherine Miles in particular has committed fraud, she has committed theft, she has committed blackmail, and blatantly, fourth, perverted the course of justice. She perverted the course of justice by lying on record to the police, saying that she thought that I was the head of a charity, that I had defrauded her and others into thinking that I was a head of a charity, and so therefore they went out to solicit donations for a non-existent charity. This is bullshit.